Before you send money to someone who says they can't video call because of security, stop. That excuse is not random. In most romance scams, avoiding live video isn't a coincidence, it's the system. And if you miss how romance scammers avoid video verification, the illusion stays intact long enough to cost you. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly how they do it, step by step, so you can recognize the pattern before it progresses.
When someone refuses a live video call once, it may feel like bad timing. When they refuse twice, it starts to feel inconvenient. But when the refusal always sounds logical, that's when you should pay attention. Romance scammers don't say no aggressively. They delay. They postpone. They promise later. And that promise is what keeps the illusion alive. There are 5 common tactics romance scammers use to avoid video verification. Some are obvious, some are subtle. One of them is almost impossible to detect if you don't know what to look for. Let's start with the first. The first way romance scammers avoid video verification is by introducing something that sounds official. Security. You ask for a live video call, not a long one, not complicated, just a few minutes in real time, and the response sounds calm. I'm not allowed to video call from here. There are strict military security policies. We can't use FaceTime on base. Notice what just happened. The refusal is framed as responsibility, not avoidance. Responsibility. And that framing is powerful. Because when someone says they're following rules, especially military rules, questioning them feels disrespectful. That's intentional. This tactic works because it leverages authority bias again. The uniform doesn't just create credibility, it creates compliance. You don't want to be the person who doubts a soldier's restrictions. So instead of pushing further, you accept the explanation. But here's the structural tell. The excuse is always broad, never specific. They won't explain which unit, they won't clarify which policy, they won't provide verifiable documentation. It's always just vague enough to stop the conversation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Military personnel are not prohibited from all video communication. Operational security has limits, but identity verification is not universally banned. A scammer cannot risk live verification, so the illusion must be protected behind something that sounds official. Security, policy, restriction. The more official the language sounds, the less likely you are to challenge it. That's not coincidence, that's design. And if this excuse appears early, before emotional attachment is strong, it's a warning. If it appears after emotional bonding has begun, it's protection of the illusion. Either way, it is not random. It is the first wall. And if that wall holds, the next tactic becomes easier to accept.
If the security excuse creates distance, the second tactic creates hope. You ask again for a live video call, and this time, they don't say no. They say yes, just not right now. My camera isn't working properly. The signal here is terrible. I tried earlier, but the connection dropped. This tactic is powerful because it doesn't deny verification, it delays it. And delay is far more effective than refusal, because refusal ends the conversation. Delay keeps the relationship moving forward. You begin to believe the video call will eventually happen.
Yes, but it's breaking.
Tomorrow, next week,
The connection
when
is
the signal
unstable.
improves. And every
Can you
time
hear
you
me?
ask again,
Yes,
the
but it's
explanation
breaking up.
evolves.
The connection
The
is
internet is
unstable.
unstable here. We're in a
Can you hear me?
restricted zone today.
Yes, but it's
I'm moving
breaking up.
locations soon.
The
It'll be
connection is
easier then.
unstable.
Each excuse
Can you hear
sounds
me?
temporary.
Yes,
That's
but it's breaking
intentional
up.
because temporary
connection is
problems
unstable.
keep hope alive, and
Can
hope
you hear me?
buys time.
Yes, but it's
Time
breaking up.
allows emotional
connection
attachment
is
to
unstable.
deepen. By the time you realize
you
the
hear me?
video call never
Yes, but
actually
it's breaking
happens,
up.
the relationship
connection is
already
unstable.
feels real. But
Can you
here's what
hear
many
me?
people miss.
Yes, but
A
it's
poor
breaking up.
signal does not prevent
connection
a
is
short
unstable.
live verification. Even a
hear
few
me?
seconds of
Yes, but
unstable
it's
video
breaking
can
up.
confirm
The
identity.
connection is
But
unstable.
scammers avoid even that.
Can you hear me?
Because live video
Yes, but it's
introduces
breaking up.
something they cannot
The connection is
control.
unstable.
Reality. And reality breaks the illusion. So the camera never quite works. The signal never quite
Can you hear me?
stabilizes. And the
Yes,
call
but it's
never
breaking up.
quite connects.
The connection
It
is
always
unstable.
almost happens. Almost is enough to keep the illusion alive, but not enough to expose the truth. And once this delay loop begins, the next tactic becomes even harder to detect, because by then, trust has already started doing the work for them.
After repeated delays, something surprising sometimes happens. They suddenly agree to show themselves. A short clip appears, maybe a quick video greeting, maybe a short recording where the person smiles, waves, or says a few words. For a moment, it feels like proof. You finally see the person behind the profile. And that moment can be incredibly convincing, because your brain treats visual confirmation as strong evidence. But here's the part most people don't realize. A pre-recorded video is not the same as a live interaction. Scammers know this. That's why some of them prepare short clips in advance, sometimes stolen, sometimes downloaded from real social media accounts, sometimes recorded by someone else entirely. The video looks natural, casual lighting, simple greeting, maybe even a uniform. But notice what never happens. You never control the moment. You never ask a real-time question. You never say, turn the camera to the left. You never say, show me today's date, because the video has already been recorded. And once you accept that clip as proof, the scammer gains something extremely valuable: credibility. Now, when they avoid future live calls, the explanation feels easier to accept. After all, you've already seen them. At least that's what it feels like. But the truth is simple. Verification only works when it happens in real time. Anything that can be recorded, edited, or reused cannot confirm identity. And scammers know that, which is why the next tactic doesn't just delay verification, it manipulates time itself. By this stage, something interesting has already happened. You've asked for a video call. You've heard the security explanation. You've experienced the bad signal delays.
Yes, but
Maybe
it's
you've
breaking
even
up.
seen a short video clip. And now, communication begins to follow a pattern. The messages arrive at very specific times. Late at night, very early in the morning, sometimes hours apart. And the explanation always sounds reasonable. Time zones here are difficult. I'm on a different schedule. Our shifts are unpredictable. At first, it feels normal. After all, deployment overseas means different time zones. But scammers often use time zones as something more than an explanation. They use them as control. By controlling when conversations happen, they control when verification is possible. If you ask for a video call during your afternoon, they may say it's the middle of the night where they are. If you suggest a morning call, suddenly they're on duty. If you request a spontaneous call, they're unavailable because of operational schedules. Every window for real-time verification closes before it can open. And because time zone differences are real, the excuses sound perfectly logical. But notice the pattern. No matter what time you suggest, it never quite works. The schedules never align. The connection never happens when you expect it. And eventually, you stop asking as often. Not because you're convinced, but because it feels inconvenient. That's the goal. Time becomes the shield that protects the illusion. But once verification has been delayed long enough, something else usually appears. And this final tactic is the one that pushes the scam toward its real objective: money. After verification has been delayed long enough, the tone of the conversation often changes. Something unexpected happens. An emergency. Not a dramatic disaster. Something smaller. Something believable. A clearance fee. A shipment problem. A medical bill. A leave request that requires temporary payment. The request is carefully framed. I hate asking you this. I don't have anyone else. I'll pay you back when I return. By this point, the relationship may already feel real.
You've shared personal conversations. You've built routine. You've heard explanations that sounded reasonable. And because verification always seemed almost possible, the illusion survived long enough to build trust. That trust is the real objective. The financial request is simply the final step. And once a payment is sent, the structure often repeats itself. Another delay, another emergency, another temporary problem. The pattern continues until the illusion breaks. But once you recognize the structure, the illusion becomes much easier to interrupt. Because romance scammers don't improvise randomly. They follow patterns: identity, distance, delay, controlled verification, time manipulation, and finally, financial urgency. Once you see the sequence, the excuses begin to lose their power.
If you want to protect yourself from this pattern, focus on one principle. Verification should happen early, not after months of conversation, not after emotional attachment. Early. Ask for a live video interaction where you control the moment. Ask simple, real-time questions. Ask them to show their surroundings. Ask them to respond to something specific in that moment. Real people can do this. Scammers cannot. Also remember that images, recorded videos, and profile photos are not proof of identity. Anything that can be downloaded can be reused. And most importantly, never send money to someone whose identity you cannot confirm in real time. Distance should explain geography. It should not prevent verification. Romance scams succeed because they follow psychological patterns, not because victims are careless. When you understand those patterns, you begin to see the structure behind the story. And once the structure becomes visible, the illusion becomes much harder to maintain. If you've ever heard these excuses before, pause the conversation and verify before it progresses further. And if you want clear, structured breakdowns of modern scam tactics, the kind scammers hope you never recognize, subscribe to Fraud Intelligence. Awareness changes outcomes, and patterns become easier to see once you know where to look.